Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, who sells the most merch in WWE? We might know. We might be throwing a flag. We're going to have a little conversation about it later on in the show. And WWE gets their man, as well as we've got a lot to uncover with John Cena picking up a new title. We've got War Games on the rise. We've got this The Time Is Now tournament with mystery opponents, and some of them made an appearance this week. AEW had their Blood and Guts television program, which, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was pretty good. We're going to break all that down, and I'm going to slip a little TNA news in there because I woke up this morning to some stuff. So we're going to talk about all of that, break it all down, helping me hit the wrestling industry with a flaming hot table. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Woo, woo, woo. You know it. It's a Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Lots to get into. Man, just in general, I thought it was a great week. Lots to get into in regards to reacting to some outcomes. It was interesting, and it was cool to be genuinely surprised. I thought a little let down because I thought it would be Joe Hendry on the heels of signing his contract. I thought it would be cool to have him show up right away on SmackDown, but there's still a chance because I really am into the idea that he manifested an opportunity, something so big and so great, but I don't know if it's going to happen that way. And I'm really curious your sense of how it went down with the new signing, but lots to get into with this John Cena tournament. It's interesting. The field is all set. I think there's one more surprise entrant that we're going to get on Monday, but I'm kind of concerned because in my mind, it feels like, all right, is it going to be Gunther? Is it going to be, Cena, Gunther, and you pass the torch to him? I know Triple H really loves him, but I just, at least from the internet, doesn't seem like that's the guy that people want to see to be the last match. Doesn't feel like unique enough to give Gunther an opportunity. He's already been a world champ multiple times.
Yeah, he's already been that guy, specifically with that belt. I believe he's had that belt before, right?
Yeah, of course. That's how he came up. Yeah,
he's had that belt.
A long time.
Like 749 days or something like that. So, to me, he doesn't feel like the right call right now. And when the rumors and the speculation started to come out about this, he didn't feel like the right call right now either. I do think a guy like Joe Hendry, and we'll get into this little bit of news right now. According to Fightful Select, Joe Hendry has officially signed with WWE with the ongoing partnership between WWE and TNA. We've seen many TNA stars make an appearance on NXT television over the past year. Hendry was one who fit right in, and fans immediately gravitated towards. Hendry made a ton of appearances on WWE television, including WrestleMania 41, where he answered Randy Orton's open challenge. We were kind of dismayed by that match. That match really only lasted about 5 minutes. But the guy went out there, did his job, and that impressed everybody in the back. The expectation was always that he would sign once his contract with TNA ended. Seems as though that has ended, or they worked some kind of negotiation out where his contract is now over with TNA and he is with WWE. I don't know if it was you or if it was Kenny, but somebody in our group chat said that when Joe Hendry hits the screen, he feels like he is WWE. Like he has always been a part of WWE. He never really was a member of TNA. He has that charisma. He has that over-the-top ability to connect with fans. I would love to see him possibly win this, but I just think it'd be too soon. It'd be too much too soon for a guy. I feel like Henry's going to start his time, obviously, in NXT, and they're going to work his way up. I feel like it will be a short time in NXT before he gets his way up to the main roster. But like you said, a lot going on with John Cena. His time is now. And here's the thing. Monday night, he's in Boston. They open the show. Woo-hoo. And he's doing this whole thing where he's talking, and he sets something up for the Saturday night main event. That'll be his final show, where he talks about telling everybody about what he's moving into next. It's the closing of one chapter and the opening of a new chapter of a new book. Now, Dominic Mysterio comes out, cuts a promo. Next thing you know, Triple H makes a match between these two. And I guess where I kind of want to start, because this all kind of ties into this Time Is Now tournament. I think at the end of it, whoever wins this thing is going to get this belt. Because if we're being honest, John Cena's got about 2-ish weeks left. He's only going to make probably one or two more appearances, so I don't see the belt coming off of him now. I do see it coming off at Saturday night's main event when whoever gets to the finals in that tournament beats him and takes that title from him. There's now a lot kind of wrapped up in this. But before that belt, like I said, Dom comes out, and Dom's been the champion for a while. Was this the right person and the right time to take the belt off Dominic Mysterio? Because I'm a little bit two-sided on this. I feel like I really liked where Dom was going with this. I like the fact that this added friction inside of Judgment Day. The very next day after this took place, Finn Balor posted on his Twitter account or his Instagram account that this is the best day of his life, basically shading the fact that Dom just lost his belt. And like I said, I really liked the growth that Dominic Mysterio had. Now, the only way that I see this really benefiting his storyline is if this is the one thing that really breaks him away from Judgment Day or breaks up parts of the Judgment Day, because he's like, where were you guys? I'm always there to help you. You're never there to help me. What's going on? This is the straw that finally breaks the camel's back. But I guess back to the original question, was John Cena the right person to take that belt? This now makes him a Grand Slam champ, which was cool because he never held this belt. So I feel like that was awesome. And was this the right time to take it off of Dom?
Absolutely, because it really does set up, if you would have did it properly, the opportunity for the next person. It means more for the final match to include a belt. And I think that's really cool, depending on who they did it with. Now, it sucks because I feel like if you knew you were going to get a return of somebody that was from the Indies, that would have been a perfect tie for that guy to win it. I mean, he won it at WrestleMania. He kept it for a day, and he's been grinding. I mean, what better reward you give a guy for grinding on the Indies than let him win a tournament? Instead, you debut him, and you then have him lose, which is just, when we talk about it, I'll share, it's just money, prestige, working with your wife, to me, is not as important as winning. And I shared that in the group chat. I mean, you joked that you and I would make great bookers, but you finish that story and you loop it in, and it's great. You kick off. I mean, you literally send Cardona into a sphere of influence that maybe now within 6 months he could wrestle Cody Rhodes. Instead, he just looks like another jabron. And
so here's the thing. That was the highlight of Friday night for me. Friday night
awesome.
Was a very good show.
It was awesome.
Very good show. But Zack Ryder coming out, Matt Cardona coming out as Zack Ryder, was unreal. And you're right. LA Knight didn't need to win that match. LA Knight would have been fine. That place would have exploded if Zack Ryder won that and advanced in the tournament, and you're right.
Yeah.
You set up that storyline where he then takes the belt off of John Cena, and he gets back his belt that you say he held for one day.
And he
held it for one day.
It doesn't make any sense.
I had to explain the entire Zack Ryder story to my wife last night as we're watching it.
Yeah.
I told her, because I would run around the house and I say woo, woo, woo to the kid all the time. I was like, that's where I got it from. She was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And I was like, yeah.
That's him.
I was like, this is really cool. He's not Zack Ryder anymore. He's Matt Cardona. And the dude is unreal on the indie scene. He does an amazing job. And I was like, and he gets to nail Chelsea Green all the time. So, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I was like, his story is absolutely amazing. And you're right. It would have been fantastic if he would have won it. And it would have been great. It would have been something awesome. It would have been a cool story. And it would have been something that was so not.
And also too, you don't have Matt Cardona fight LA Knight. LA Knight, people want him to be pushed. The final should have been LA Knight versus Matt Cardona. I mean, come on. It's pretty straightforward. I thought that The Miz also could have been, at least let the man win a tournament. Win a tournament match.
Here's the thing. Does Jey Uso need to win another match?
No.
Jey Uso's got his own shit going on with War Games. You could have beat Jey Uso. The Miz needed to win. The Miz in that. Because The Miz and John Cena have an amazing storyline.
Is The Miz ever doing? Bro, it's been like 3 years since we've said, is The Miz ever going to come back around to have, like, what is he going to have to do? Like, it's really crazy to think about. And then I sent you that article from Bleacher Report, which is, who the hell is, nobody is to the point where they're believable now to face Cody Rhodes. He's in a tough spot. Because you kept dumping on and buried The Miz, it sucks. And so the bigger names I get that were included in the article, but I just felt like that was all booked wrong and sloppy. and it ruined the return. Also, too, if you didn't want him to win the tournament, I felt like you could have introduced Zack Ryder as a big star, someone returning, death match, a couple of the highlights from NXT. We got a big guy coming back. I felt like the announcers did a great job to highlight the fact, which was weird though, to show a flag with his name on it, which is you don't really typically see that. I was like, okay,
like they're selling his merch.
Yeah, but I feel like, the fans are not, listen, it was the right time to take the belt off. Dom's going to be great. He'll win it again. He'll have man, he held his own, bro. He's a star. And I thought that he sold his facial expressions amazingly well. He held the moment perfectly. You believed that he was a heel character. I love when he said, I'm not even in my prime and I'm already better than you. And he just,
that was great.
It was a great line. And he's just a natural at what he's doing. And he's only going to get better. So that's just going to be fine with Dominic Mysterio. For John Cena, great hometown moment. It was great to see him win the Intercontinental title. It's really to set up the next opportunity, and that's fine. And he had a good match. It wasn't all that athletic and crazy, but it was good enough to allow for the moment, and it was a good start to Monday Night Raw. I'm curious to see how the tournament's going to play out. I love to see Penta. I can't wait to see who the final mystery person is. If it's Austin Theory, is it Gunther, or whoever the hell it's going to be.
That's where I want to go next. I want to get your thoughts on who you think it might be, because I have a couple of ideas here, and I want to throw some names out to you. One we've already talked about, Joe Hendry, right? You've talked about him manifesting this moment. There's been a lot written about with Joe Hendry after that Randy Orton moment at WrestleMania, where John Cena pulled him off to the side and gave him a lot of advice, and he talked about it. He gushed about it. I believe it was on Busted Open Radio after the fact. So you have that tie-in. Now, I don't know if all wrestling fans who just watch the program know that. If you're reading other things and you're paying attention to other stuff and you're listening to other things, you probably know that story. And I think that's something that's cool. It's another really good tie-in. To me, it doesn't feel like they're doing anything with tie-ins, because we've already given you two that they could have used to advance storylines and they didn't do anything with them. But here's another guy. This is a guy who there's been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of speculation. He's posted a new picture of himself shirtless, and everybody's like, oh, he's in WWE shape. It's just the way his body fluctuates. Some days he doesn't eat a cheeseburger, and the guy's got the weirdest looking six-pack you've ever seen, with one of the weirdest chests you have ever seen. And other days he eats a cheeseburger and he's a little bit bloated, and it looks like he's got some moobs. But that is Chris Jericho. There's been a lot of rumor, a lot of speculation about Chris Jericho possibly coming back. I love Jericho. Jericho is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Like on my Mount Rushmore, he is probably my number one. So you've got a guy like Chris Jericho posting different pictures and really kind of stirring the pot. He recently did an interview where he kind of shaded AEW.
He sure did.
And it led to a lot of speculation, like his relationship with AEW is done. He's going back to WWE.
Yeah.
And I think at some point we all assumed that he was going to finish his career in WWE. I think for Monday Night Raw, he's probably the guy to get the biggest pop. Like we have that one mystery opponent that's going to show up this Monday. He's the guy. If you really want to blow the roof off the place, I feel like he's the one that could absolutely do it. Now, I feel like if Zack Ryder would have beat LA Knight, would have blew the roof off the place on Friday, and I don't think the show would have recovered. I don't know how things would have been able to pick up after that, and I feel like it would have been a great moment, and him advancing, I feel like would have been fantastic. But to me, it really comes down to Joe Hendry, and it really comes down to Chris Jericho. I want to know if you have any other thoughts on anybody else coming in. And what do you think of those two names? I already know that you would love to see Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
But what about Chris Jericho?
Listen, you can't. I mean, you've already ruined a couple Royal Rumble pops. You got to get the Jericho pop in Saudi for the Royal Rumble. That's just the way it is. This is not what Jericho's got to come in, and he's got to be a guy that has to start off huge. It's going to be a 1-year retirement thing. He's got to have dream matches with the likes that we've talked about before. And yeah, it's clear. And it's also being a straight shooter. Like everybody that saw the ECW arena, it looks like a ghetto bingo hall. And
it looked awful.
It looked awful on TV. It wasn't good. If you were going to do that, I'm not going to lie, the Masonic Temple looks beautiful on television. It's nice. It's quaint. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to do residencies, do it at least in an upscale place. ECW is a bingo hall in the dumps, and that's not what your company looks like. And it's so true where you have TNA has
Lions taking on Philly, and we're shitting on Philly venues. Let's go, baby.
Exactly. So you realize that, TNA has a relationship with WWE, and they want to also look like, hey, we want to present ourselves as a company that could be the number 2 in the world. So it's one of those deals where, Chris Jericho is, I don't think, going to be involved in this, and it'd be great, but no, that's not. This is about next. This is about building a star. It's simple. It's make a star, make somebody. So it has to be, to me, I love the idea that Joe Hendry 9 months ago said that, listen, I'm Joe Hendry, and this is John Cena, and I want to put this together. And it might not happen. It might end up being where he gets right there to the final match and doesn't win, whatever it is. But Joe Hendry's a star, and people like the thing that's scary is a lot of wrestlers are getting buried in a way where their trajectory should be like, at times, I know you can't run your company by what the fans want, but you got to have the pulse of what would be supremely awesome. You got to make somebody like, not everybody has to be, I start off in developmental. I go through NXT. I win the title for 3 months. I lose the title. I get it back for 2 months. I put someone over. I come to the company. Then I lose a bunch of matches. And then I get into an intermediate feud. And then 2 years later, I'm somebody. It's like, come on. Like, Cody Rhodes comes in. He was an established star. He comes in and wins a bunch of matches. So, like, Joe Hendry should come in and win and be over and become a star. Like Jacob Fatu.
Well, dude, that's like
Jacob Fatu got cooled off for injuries. It's like everybody that we want to see get the rocket ship. You got it with Jey Uso. That was cool. But the dude's not Shawn Michaels. And you get the guy like that's a total package like a Fatu, and he gets cooled off. So a lot of times when we're at the nuclear phase of somebody we really love, then they get cooled off, and it's like, man, I really do believe that part of what Vince McMahon said was nobody's going to get as big as the company. We're only going to let 2 or 3 guys make $5 million a year, and that's it. And I get it, but I don't like it. I feel like Joe Hendry deserves it. He manifested it, bro. He did you a solid. Like, yeah, it's great that you got a guy to fill in for an injury and you got a huge pop, but you shit on him, man. You lost the match in 4 minutes, and yeah, it's great for his exposure, but you owe him a solid, and that solid is, hey, give me John Cena and let him win. Like, Joe Hendry becoming the IC champion is absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm. And look, you talk about guys coming in and getting cooled off. Fatu was at a crescendo, dude. And it's like, you really had to shit or get off the pot with him. And they got off the pot. Like, you needed the shit because, like, this guy was fire. And then same thing with LA Knight. LA Knight over. LA Knight got himself over organically. He did exactly what Zack Ryder did. Got himself out over organically, and then you cooled him off. You completely cooled him off. And that was why seeing Zack Ryder come back last night or on Friday night was so great, because this was a dude who the company shit on, buried. He got himself over. The company got upset that he got himself over. They put the title on him just to shit on him. Yeah. And not shit on him in the good way, but to like bury him. And then you end up releasing him. And then the guy goes on to the indies and becomes an indie god and looks amazing. And then comes back and does you favors. Like, unreal. Like, there are so many guys in this company that you should be doing stuff like this with. I feel like Damian Priest, whatever his title run was, it was what it was, right? But I feel like that was another guy who had a lot of momentum. And now he got sucked into this thing with Aleister Black, and I don't even know where the hell that's going. I don't know what we're doing with that. It just feels like that thing's just been kind of start, stop for weeks. There's a ton of guys up and down this roster that are like that. And like you said, you've got the potential to make multiple stars. Make multiple stars. Like, it feels like if your name's not Cody Rhodes, your name's not Roman Reigns, you're just another guy on the roster.
Yeah,
kind of what it feels like. Even a guy like Seth Rollins feels like he's a notch below those two guys.
It's like they only you're only allowed one push a year, and that's it. That's all we're going to focus on. Okay, this last year's push was Jey Uso, and that's it. And everybody else is like, okay, let's just book them 50-50. That's weird. Like, make some more stars. And I thought about it too. A lot of these guys build egos, and Zack Ryder clearly is embarrassed that was the character, and he was going to go nowhere. So they leave, like Drew McIntyre, like Cody Rhodes. They realize, oh man, we can make a lot of money in the indies being somebody that was a former WWE star. You go out there, you could book yourself, you can make a good 10 grand an appearance, and then you sell a lot of merchandise. You do podcasts. There's a lot of information and a lot of things you can do outside of wrestling that gives you opportunities. And he capitalized. He went everywhere. He did spot appearances for AEW. You kept yourself open. So it's a great thing. So he made it. He proved it. He proved himself year after year after year that I could be a business person. Now you then go, okay, my wife is now traveling with WWE. She's a star. You don't want to be a part all this time. So I feel like Matt Cardona was like, took the different route where he's like, okay, I already proved myself. They called me. Now I'm just going to take the money and take the merchandise, take the exposure, and they can do book. I mean, literally, you don't come back as Zack Ryder if you're Matt Cardona. You're like, come on, let me be Matt Cardona. Like, what the hell? Like, I know they want to license everything and they want to sell all those merchandise that they've already had. They probably just dusted off all their shirts and said, oh, we'll just slap a paint of cone on it and we'll refresh it. I'm like, no, man. It would have been actually amazing. Might have even got a bigger pop because if he comes out with always ready. I mean, everybody saw him on the indies, and maybe they poo-poo that, but I saw him in Detroit. I saw him, all the work that he did. It's Matt Cardona. And Zack Ryder is a character that I don't think has value. It's not a, like, do you really think Zack Ryder is a guy that's going to be the world heavyweight champion? No, Matt Cardona sounds better. It just sounds better as a character. The hat, the ruggedness.
But here's the thing: it's a very WWE thing to do that.
Yeah, it's corny.
Who is basically at the pinnacle, and then bring him back and then put him in a garbage ass gimmick.
Right, but what's
we didn't get you over. You got yourself over.
But also
so that's
too,
not allowed. It's a very old school WWE mentality.
And I do think that he took the easy route because, look, he's friends with Cody Rhodes. He probably lobbed some texts and said, hey, what do you think? And I think Cody said there's some equity in that name. People know it. You can build a baby face if that's what you're going to start off as. But I like the rugged guy. I like the guy that's more of a badass, that I think that's going to be the guy that can be a world champion material. We'll see where this run goes. I just feel like he said, you know what? I made it. Now I can slow down, take the money, take the merch, travel with my wife, and whatever happened. I did the grind for 6 years. I got the proof that I could do it and make myself over. And it's cool, but to me, it's just more important that, wrestlers need to think that after I retire, if you're over, you can go, you just show up once or twice a month at these signings and show up at WrestleMania week. You can make $100,000 a year just traveling, 5-6 times a year. So in my opinion, winning is most important. And that's what was really interesting about AEW by showing the win-loss record. Winning is important. It adds equity to your brand, to your character. And coming in and losing to LA Knight as Zack Ryder. And also too, when he did that, when he did the entrance and everything, I didn't believe it was Zack Ryder. I'm like, that's Matt Cardona playing Zack Ryder.
Matt Cardona.
It was Matt Cardona playing. Yeah. Zack Ryder wasn't buff. Zack Ryder wasn't a monster. You know what I mean? So it's just...
Zack Ryder didn't have that swagger. Zack Ryder was figuring that swagger out.
Yeah, pay me less and get me a push. Like, I would say, okay, you want me? I want to push. I want to win matches. I want to win. I'm not getting creative control, but I want to win 80% of my matches on TV. I want a percentage. Like, I don't want to be pinned so often. Like, it's a big deal when Roman Reigns gets pinned. He's only been pinned 3 times.
Just to be clear, Zack Ryder, a.k.a. Matt Cardona, I don't believe had signed a contract with WWE.
But he's got the shirts. Where do the shirts come from?
It was a WWE thing, I believe. I think there was something negotiated. I don't think he's back with the company. I've seen nothing about him being back with the company. I think this was, you got to realize too, he's doing stuff with TNA. They got the TNA WWE crossover thing. There's a little bit of flexibility and wiggle there. Also, he could have said, yeah, go ahead, print those shirts up, because he knows he's going to get 15% of whatever it is. So, okay, like you said, he knows the deal. I'm going to get a cut of that merch. It's going to be fine. I think if you were to bring him back, I feel like you almost have to bring him back as Matt Cardona. Yeah. Like it would just be silly to bring him back as Zack Ryder.
But the entrance is cool though. I'm not gonna lie, that song is really cool. It brings about a good moment and time. But yeah, it just goes to show you that it's hard to be a full-time performer when you don't have control of your character, and literally writers will dictate if you're going to have a happy wrestling life or not. And I just don't understand why wrestlers don't push for the number one thing. I know it's always money, years, travel. How do they get first class tickets? How much money they get to travel? All that kind of fun stuff, backside guarantees. But to me, it feels like number one thing I would ask for is, listen, you guys can handle the money and whatever that's going to be. I would take less. Just please let me win a lot of matches. Winning is fun, especially when you grow your brand, you win titles, and you know, I don't want to lose a title after 1 month. I want to have I want my title reigns to be, I want a 5-year contract, 2 title reigns of 180 days, and I win 80% of my matches. That's a great contract. And if you need to pay me $1 million less, no problem. I'll make it up when I do these 1 or 2 shows a year, because I'll be a star. I want percentage of promo time. You got to have the opportunity to say, listen, money's great, but in the end, your character built is what's going to last you as a performer. And I don't want to end up being like The Miz. Like I could not be happy making $4 million a year, traveling the world, being a brand ambassador, do a bunch of golf YouTube channels, and then get pinned every week. I mean, that would be miserable in my mind.
Yeah, it would. That would not be.
Oh my God,
right? For sure, would not be ideal. I'm going to keep an eye on the Zack Ryder situation again. I don't believe that he's signed. I think this was kind of a one-off, maybe a WWE TNA type thing, but we'll pay attention to this going forward. And then I feel like if he does sign, we have a lot to talk about there. There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot going on both Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, tying into what's coming up. And what's coming up are War Games. We've got War Games taking place. You had Steven Regal make an appearance, make an announcement, say War Games, and everybody was excited. I want to get your thoughts on kind of what we've got built up thus far. So for the women, we're going to have Rhea, Io, Alexa Bliss. We had Charlotte. We'll talk about that in a second. Taking on Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Asuka, and Kairi. Now, Charlotte ends up bailing on Friday, and she basically points to the fact that she hates Rhea Ripley. What do you think happens here? Because she told Alexa Bliss, she was like, I'm your friend, and I'm friends with you, but I can't stand her. And she basically walked out. It was a slow walkout. She gets to the top of the ramp, looks back, and it looks as almost though like she wants Alexa Bliss to be like, no, you got to come back. You got to come back. And then she disappears into the back. How do you think this plays out? Because my thought is, I'm assuming that the heels are going to attack Charlotte, and that's going to suck her back in, and she's going to be involved in this match. And legit, maybe this is where Charlotte turns heel. She goes back to being heel. I've never thought I'd ever see Charlotte be an over babyface, but you pair her with Alexa Bliss, and she has been so over. She's been much more likable. I've always felt like her as a face has been the most unlikable face. It feels so gold-plated. It's just so fake. It's so not believable, not real. And she's a fantastic heel. But I never thought I'd ever get behind her as a face. Like I said, you pair her with Alexa Bliss, and all of a sudden now I'm sucked in. I don't know what we're going to do with Charlotte after this. Like, them two as tag team champs, I loved it. I thought it worked well. I don't think they were on television enough, as we had that episode where we were like, wait, aren't they the tag team? Who's tag team champs? Like, we had a hard time putting together who were the female tag team champs because we never seen them. But I feel like in recent weeks, they've been on television more. I feel like you got to see the charisma between both of them come out, and I loved it. Her walking away from this group and kind of leaving Alexa Bliss high and dry doesn't scream friend to me. Also, her having this big issue with Rhea Ripley, to me, it almost feels a little forced. I think at some point she does come back, though. How do you see this playing out? And what are your thoughts on Charlotte bailing on the group? What feels like almost last minute. We are about 2 weeks away from this pay-per-view, but it feels like it's almost last minute.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. I love the way that SmackDown started with Rhea. It was awesome. And look, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. They got WWE's got a lot to live up to compared to what the other company did with their Blood and Guts program. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm very intrigued by Lash. I thought that her debut has been kind of okay, intriguing.
She looks like a freaking powerhouse.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the way in which I looked at it and said, wow, okay, it's interesting the way they've used her. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Charlotte angle plays out. Them walking away kind of set the tone and created some intrigue. And on the men's side, I'm very intrigued with how it's set up, especially at the end of SmackDown. I am liking Logan Paul with the crew. It's cool, and then you add Drew McIntyre. It's woven together well, and so I'm happy with it. You realize, okay, it's a 10-minute match with Cody Rhodes, and it was set up quick, but the ending was pretty good to get you to where you needed to go. That's about as good as you can do, especially with the swerves that were happening, especially having not having Seth Rollins involved in the way it went down. Those four standing over Cody Rhodes was pretty cool, and I like the idea of those four, doing their thing. And Cody and Paul Heyman have this fun chemistry that when they talk to each other, it's really cool. So I'm excited to see the opportunities. The matches are going to be great, but I don't think they're going to live up to what the hell happened in the other company. I mean, Jesus, it was weird. It's weird to me though, in my mind, that for WWE, it's a storyline. It's war games. It's interesting. It's the tagline.
I feel like it's something on a calendar that they have to appease.
And AEW's kind of made it like a staple, like a kickoff point, like a sentinel moment. It's weird. I get it, but it's violent and gruesome. But it got a lot of people's attention for the work rate that took place. I don't know if they're going to match it, but in the end, I think for WWE, what's more important is the seeds of story that can be implanted as a result of what happens. You can develop feuds, you can end feuds, you can set the tone for the next wave, surprises, whatever you need to do. The wrestling is going to be important, but to me, it's going to be the story that is now told with the emergence of the Vision and what's going to happen with them and setting up, okay, Cody's battle with this group that's going to try to make his life miserable.
Yeah, it's going to be something that needs to be utilized as a kickoff point.
Yes.
Like I said, it really feels like creative's just beholden to a date on a calendar. And unlike what we've seen with AEW, I was watching AEW, I was watching the women's the women's blood and guts match.
Wow.
And I told you, this is the most fun I've ever had watching an AEW.
Yes.
And I'm the guy who bitches about storyline all the time. We need storyline. This had very minimal storyline. But like you said, the work rate and what the women did was so impressive. I thought this was such a fun, creative match. The way that they just figured out ways to body each other was absolutely unreal. I absolutely loved what the women did. I thought the ending sets up really nice because legit, everybody can be mad at Toni Storm because she ends up submitting because Mina Shirakawa is just getting annihilated. You've got Mina Shafir having her in a submission while Megan Bayne is whipping her with a belt. If you go back and you watch that, the first time Megan Bayne goes to hit her with the belt, she hits her with the strap right in the top of the head. And I was like, oh shit, that was bad. That was not good. That was a little bit of a botch. You can go back and watch it back and you'll see what I'm talking about. But overall, the women were great. And I think the big standout in that match, legit, Sky Blue.
Yeah.
Sky Blue was the first one in. She was bloody as hell. She held her own. She looked amazing. She looked absolutely amazing. I was so impressed by Sky Blue in this match. I came out of it and I was like, new respect for her. Like, I've always liked her, but after this match, she's been elevated up so much because of everything she did and everything she put into this match. What did you think of the women's the women's blood and guts match? Because I keep wanting to call it Hell in the Cell because that's what it looked like absolute hell. But what did you think of the women's blood and guts match? Because I was so enthralled with it and I thought it was great. And it's hard to do the same match on the same show.
Right.
I think AEW did a really good job giving you a little bit of difference between the two matches. One was just work rate. The other one was very storyline driven, and we'll talk about the men's in a moment. But what did you make of the women's?
Absolutely, and you said it perfectly. Work rate was great, and the number one thing that even if you don't tell a story that shows you that people are interesting and that there's something there, is people started to care. The crowd was going with the match. Oohs and ahs. The way the crowd also reacted to some of the moves, the selling, the way in which the women gave of themselves. You can tell when there's a challenge made, like, okay, this is your time, and the women looked at it not from just a, hey, let's go try to do this, and in years past they'd use weapons that didn't look believable and couldn't execute it. This was a little different. This was a little more aggressive. This was a little bit more of, okay, we have this floor, let's go take something, and that's what they did. Everybody that watched that match was like, oh my God, I like this. Even the staunch internet haters were like, we like this. And it was gruesome. It was wild to see Blue look like that after the match, and we sent you the pictures, and it was just crazy to see. But what it was you're invested. You cared about the outcome. You cared like, hey, be careful. Oh my God, they're doing this, they're doing that. Whoa, what's next? So the way the match flowed was basically well produced by the backstage, which we don't talk about a lot, and then the performers went out there and got you to care. So my goodness, and everybody I think everybody in that match you could do something with moving forward. So it was the right call for those women at that right time. It's a jumping off point, but there's always something to say that women don't need to be looking all crimson-y. You know what I mean? It should be more, just tell the story and keep it moving. And maybe you could say you could have did it the opposite, where the men should have did the work rate and the women should have did more of the story. But hell, it was cool to see, and it's true. Blood and Guts has been a staple that has been something that's talked about. And unfortunately, the name is crazy, because how the hell do you top that? The men had to go try and do it, and they were in the conversation too.
Yeah, I almost feel like Blood and Guts it really should be one of their pay-per-views. I feel like if this was a pay-per-view and you kept it to, I don't know,
3 hours,
5-6 matches,
3 hours.
You don't have to give us one of the 6-hour pay-per-views, but you did this that way. I feel like it would be absolutely fantastic. Now, that being said, I feel like the women would have outshined everything that anybody else did, because they did a fantastic job. But again, hard to do the same match on the same show, and this was a 2.5-hour show that they gave you. Very difficult to do, to make these matches feel and look different, and they did a very good job. The women's, like we said, very much work rate, a lot of blood. They did a fantastic job, like you said, honing their craft and really delivering on the time that they were given. The men's story was different. It was much more storyline driven, and the announcers, I feel like, did a very good job of getting across what was going on. This match was centered around Jon Moxley losing control of the Death Riders, and it was questioning his every move, the way he set up his team, the way he sent guys out there. I thought that told a really good story, because I think it's starting to shape where we're going with the Death Riders, right? We've talked forever and a day about the Death Riders as being on this track and just going straight, and there's really no ups and downs, and it's whatever. You've now seen Jon Moxley submit multiple times. You've now seen Jon Moxley do things that puts his group in peril. You've now seen Jon Moxley lose championships, and there really hasn't been anybody question him. The one guy who kind of has questioned him has always been Wheeler Yuta. Always been that guy who's kind of been like, I don't know about that. And that was the first guy he sent out. Instead of sending out a powerhouse who could deal with the pain and bloody guys, he sent out Wheeler Yuta, who is deadly in his own right, but he's not Claudio. And then he sends out Daniel Garcia, who again is another slight member, another smaller member. Again, deadly in his own right, but not a guy like Claudio. Not a guy who's been there, not a guy who can go through that grind. And so you send out your two, I guess, smaller individuals in your group. And to me, you got to start looking at it like, is he just feeding these guys? Are these guys just lambs being fed to the slaughter? Like, is that the guy who you really want leading? Like, Pac, again, a slighter wrestler, but that guy's a machine. You could have sent Pac out there and it would have been like, oh, okay, that makes sense. No, instead he sent out the two young bucks, the two young guys who look up to him. And again, almost like feeding lambs to the slaughter. Eventually, Claudio ends up coming out, and Jon Moxley comes out fourth. He doesn't even come out last. Doesn't come out first. He comes out right in the middle. He comes out as their fourth member when they would have what would be deemed an advantage over the faces in this group. And so to me, I thought they did a really good job laying down a lot of question marks with Jon Moxley running the show. And it almost feels as though his group is starting to slip through his fingertips and he's starting to lose a little bit of control of his clan. I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought about just the dramatic difference in storytelling. Now, again, it was a very bloody match, but the way the story was told and the way things were done were very different for the men's compared to the women's.
Absolutely. It was about exactly like you said. And it's a good story to tell because the Death Riders have been this group that have been trying to accomplish this one mission and might not go the same way. And we got to find a healthy way to to instill some doubt, some issues with John Moxley, and I thought it was done very well. Listen, man, whatever you want to say about Kyle Fletcher, the man's going to earn an opportunity, and you just don't want to burn him out. And I just felt like his role in this match was awesome, and the Death Riders did their job. And you're exactly right. The story that can be told afterwards was amazing. And just Kyle Fletcher, man, he's just an amazing, amazing performer that you do start to say, wow, there's something there. You just hope that he can stay healthy and do some things moving forward. I like what he's going to do in the coming months here. And John Moxley is always trying to reinvent himself, always trying to be somebody that, yes, it's a rugged match, but also, too, with the character, it's like, okay, now there's going to be some doubt with the group that he led, and I can't wait to see if he feuds with his own group. It's going to be interesting, or how they go down the road of this group finding some struggles, and that'll be just fine. And it's actually accomplished the mission, which is tell a story, one in which the crowd can believe, and then you can tell it in the ring that you were able to get. And I think everybody got an opportunity to shine a little bit in this matchup and got their own stuff in, which is really, really cool. And it was a match that highlighted a lot of people, but Moxley and Fletcher were really, really, really cool combatants.
I want to transition a little bit to TNA. So this week, Mike Santana, who is your new TNA champion, had his first title defense. He's had the belt now for 30-some days, maybe 40-some days. Takes on Frankie Kazarian. In the match, at the end, he goes to hit a move, and he's struggling with his hand being beat up. Ends up failing the move. Frankie Kazarian rolls him up and dethrones Mike Santana as your TNA champ. It was weird because Mike Santana's been doing a great job with TNA, and then you basically dethrone him as your champ after not having a successful title defense. Word this morning is Mike Santana has reportedly not arrived at TNA's Turning Point event. He did not appear for a scheduled meet and greet the night before the tapings, and the word making the way around the talent is that he has not returned to the company's calls or texts, and that's per PW Insider. I don't know what's gone south here because Santana has done a fantastic job. His stuff with WWE has been really good. His stuff with TNA has been fantastic. I know WWE is interested in signing him. He won the championship, and we all felt like, finally, let's go. About time. And then to turn around and have him lose the belt without ever really successfully defending it leads you to believe that there's some kind of friction there, especially now with this report coming out from PW Insider. What are your thoughts on TNA's booking of Mike Santana, and what are your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, really the theme of the week. You buried Santana. Listen, I get it under one premise. If he's got a contract negotiation and he's going to bounce, fine. I think that WWE should snag him right up, right away, and put him on the main roster, and you got a star. So I can only understand that. But, I mean, come on, a roll-up. Come on, dude. Seriously.
He lost it in the most despised way by you, the roll-up.
Yeah, so it's it was embarrassing. Look, I get it. It's a storyline. Like, he's not going to just not show up to something. It's something that a lot of guys have respect for Frankie Kazarian. He's been like, a lot of the old timers were like, wow, it's well deserved, good for him. But it was just, that was not what, and everybody reacted the same way. If you wanted to generate heat by doing that, I get it. That's cheap. But not at the expense of Santana. Come on, dude. The guy worked his ass off. He had to hug his daughter in the ring, and you gave him a 30-day reign. Come on. And he fought in front of 100 people. He had no title defenses. He had one in front of, like, what, in Mexico? In front of 50 people? Come on. It doesn't. Oh, my God. It was so embarrassing. I just didn't like it. Listen, we can talk about booking. We can talk about character development. But I guess if he's going to leave the company, that's what you do. But at the same token, man, Santana was supposed to be like, we always say it, winning the title is step one. And to me, it's even less of a, okay, good, you can give anybody a title. It's what they do when they start having opportunities to get matches. And they blew it, and it pissed off a lot of people, cuz.
Yeah, to me, this is not what you do for a guy like that, right? It was one of those things where wrestling fans celebrated him winning. He's a guy who's gone in, put in the work. He's a guy who's come in and he's really helped elevate TNA during this swoon for TNA. This just isn't how you book them. And I hope it's storyline and I hope there's like a legit outcome. But again, I feel like it's a really bad storyline if that is what that is. I did not like seeing it. Not a fan. And then, like I said, waking up this morning to what PW Insider is telling us makes it feel a little bit to me like it might be something more than just a storyline. So we'll see what happens. Again, WWE very interested in him, but again, I believe he's under contract with TNA for a little bit. So I don't know what's going to take place there. I do want to get your opinion on what the show of the week was. I feel like you've got a lot to pick from, whether it be Raw, SmackDown. You can go with TNA Impact. You can go with Dynamite, NXT. There was a lot of really good wrestling this week.
Yeah, no doubt. But by and large, it took the internet by storm. Blood and Guts was amazing. You got to give credit for people to work like that. And it was a good show and deserved show of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dynamite as well. I thought Dynamite was fantastic. You want some news and notes? We only really have one thing to talk about here because we already gave you the insight on what's going on with Joe Hendry. You ready for who sells the most merch in WWE?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes nugget. Hit me with what you got, baby.
All right. Well, with 2025 coming to a close, we now have a good idea of how a number of WWE stars have performed in terms of merch sales for the year. The top merchandise selling WWE superstar for the year of 2025 have now been released by WWE Shop's official website, and the website's listing the following 10 WWE stars as the best-selling wrestlers for the year. I want to know if this sounds right to you. Number one, and again, this is not in order, but we'll go number one, CM Punk. Sounds about right. Cody Rhodes, for sure. Jacob Fatu's got a ton of cool gear, so yeah. Jey Uso, no doubt. No doubt. I've never bought anything from WWE Shop. I was on the verge multiple times of buying multiple glasses and multiple Yeet shirts and putting my daughter in a Yeet shirt. So absolutely. If you can get me to think about it, I'm probably going to do it. John Cena, makes sense. Penta, again, makes sense. Rhea Ripley, holding it down for the women, of course. Roman Reigns. All those really make sense. How about Alexa Bliss? I feel like she's been relevant for about 4 months. She came back at the Royal Rumble, and then she disappeared for a while, didn't do a whole lot. They set her on a shelf. They broke her out of her glass cage, and then she's been in a tag team. So you mean over the course of about 4 months, she sold a ton of merch? Questionable. I don't know. But this is the one that really, really stuck out to me. AJ Lee. What? She was on TV once and she did a pay-per-view, and it wasn't even a good pay-per-view. It was a made-up pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on AJ Lee rounding out the top 10 for merch in WWE? I feel like that is BS, bro.
Yeah, listen, no, it could be because, listen, it's also off the heels of CM Punk. Like, there's a tie there, and a lot of people, nostalgia helps people. Like, oh, she's back, I want to support. And it's not like she wasn't around. He'd always mention her with the, the bracelets and the talk and everybody. It's like she was really over. And she also represents a lot of people in regards to the whole battle of mental health, the way she kind of portrayed herself. She was always she wasn't in WWE, but she was always around the conversation. And it goes to show you, because the power of the internet wrestling community, that people support and they don't forget. If you've laid it out on the line and you're a character that people remember, it's really cool, and they wanted to see her. But yeah, of course, now she's not around anymore, and it's like, okay. And it's gonna be interesting to see how they move forward with her and all the stuff that's gonna happen. And look, it's just one of those deals where the internet wrestling community can get hot real fast, and you got to remember too, because the socials are just sick. Like when you return, you get 11 million views. You just think about that based on percentage. If you just get 5% of the people that saw all that stuff to buy something, it's crazy. And you got to remember too, the power of the ladies buying stuff is just ridiculously crazy. Young kids, Christmas, holidays, stuff coming up. A lot of people buy this stuff. Get it on sale or whenever, feels like the whole WWE shop has been 30% off for the last 3 years. You know what I mean? Every week, use code this, code that for 30% off. So they do a good job It's a worldwide brand, and it's the sales of shirts is ridiculously crazy. Now, is it maybe true that she's selling more than some others? Maybe not, but I could believe it too because she's definitely over. Over.
Yeah, look, I understand she's over, but to me, man, if we're gonna separate what is CM Punk and we're gonna separate what is AJ Lee, I was shocked. I was floored.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I just have a hard time believing that is what that case is. But, it's what they said. Well, guess we'll take them at their word. I don't know. But that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes. Throwing a flag on WWEshop.com over here.
Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRSTROZ. Follow us at Detroit Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for the support. We always love breaking down the world of wrestling. Very interesting times as now we can break down some stories as they move forward with John Cena, how the tournament's going to shake out, what people think of it, how some of these, I sent a Bleacher Report article to Adam kind of indicating that, who the heck's Cody going to fight? It's just right now there's only one guy that's on the level that people like, and that's Braun Breaker. So it's interesting to see how it shakes out and how the War Games is going to push forward storyline. So it's going to be an interesting time in the world of wrestling. You got some new stars, and it's starting to take shape now that NXT and TNA are going to be this interwoven. Basically, it's really cool. It's like an interpromotional battle that they can have. That's where TNA is going. It's fair. You get NXT stars opportunities to fight TNA stars, and they can have this little era of talent. And I liked what NXT having their stars go over and beat up Santana and invade the show. It's nice. It's like an interpromotional, hey, we can get these stars. And I know some people will say, well, hey, WWE sends all the jabrones to TNA and TNA has to send all the superstars to WWE. But guys, that's the business. WWE is going to make the most money with the best talent. And if you're a TNA star, NXT star, you got to distinguish yourself. If you're Joe Hendry, you're getting called to the superstar. It's always going to be, number 2 is not number 1. And number 1 is a whole different animal than NXT, TNA, AEW. It's a different thing. But in the end, any exposure, any feuds, any opportunities that you have to move forward and grow your brand and your character, you take advantage of it. And NXT, TNA are going to help each other. So again, guys, listen to how it goes. It's not a true partnership. It's TNA was dying on the vine, and WWE resuscitated and said, oh my goodness, we can get some new stars in that are maybe even closer than it's common sense. If NXT you need 4 years to develop and TNA you need 1.5, then we're going to start plucking some guys from TNA. It's and especially when you have all these injuries. So they're like, yes, we just went from 30 guys we can look at to 75 guys we can look at. Let's go, and gals. So I can't wait to break it all down next week. Thanks, everybody, for supporting Detroit Sports Podcast Network. 3 words, your favorite podcast company, Detroit Sports Podcast. Thanks, everybody. I can't wait for next Saturday. We break it all down. Survivor Series is coming up. War Games is going to be a great opportunity to break it all down. It's a fun time of the year in the fall. And Adam and I will be here on the next episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast.